Alright, let's get straight to the chase. You saw the title. I have problems with the Galactic War and Helldivers 2. It's a kind of messy system that isn't very rewarding to be a part of as a community and player, and also feels underdeveloped, like many other systems in the game, like the weapon customization, armor customization. To keep it strictly on topic, I don't like how the Galactic War is set up. At least within like a very specific sense. To me, it feels like it should be very fast-paced. At least more fast-paced than it is at current, where it's like no change. To really see change, you'd have to look at the map from a week-to-week basis instead of a day-to-day basis. I mean, this is being recorded, at least me talking is being recorded at, right now we're liberating CS from that Exo storm, right? So that's when I'm recording this. The footage is like from a week back during bot MO, right? So like, just to reference backwards, during that bot MO, we freed liberated 2 planets and now have 2 planets under siege. It is taking a literal week just based off the small amount that their liberation progress goes up because they're under siege. It is taking a literal week for them to be freed. That I feel like if they get encircled, that should be like only a day, right? But I don't really feel like at least with how Arrowhead wants to dictate their story, and as well as kind of a natural pipeline for creating new events for the game, I don't feel like it'd make much sense to supercharge the system as it is. I think the only way you could really get away with speeding up the system and allowing like 1,000 divers to liberate a planet in a day would be to end the Galactic War and enter a more arcadey version of it. Ours is kind of close within a certain sense of the word, realistic, or close to realism, but it's not the most satisfying thing to see at the end of operation that you've only done 0.0001% or 0.005%, right? That's just not really satisfying, and personally makes me want to just quit the game and just not play, because if I'm not on, I don't affect the Galactic Liberation modifier, which is the thing that stops Helldivers from doing more like that seems like they should do. To be fair, that thing was implemented so that at night, when less people are playing the game, they do the same amount as people during the day. The issue is that the modifier of itself already hits us so low. Like, you could just raise how much Helldivers could do, and that would fix the problem. I don't have an issue with the modifier itself, more just the fact that Helldivers in general just have so little effect when you could have more pressure from the 3 enemy factions, and, I don't know why they're just kind of sitting there on their ass doing nothing. You could have them do something, increase the power of the Helldivers, and just have a more chaotic Galactic War. But I'm not going to complain too much about all of that and how I would fix it when I watched a short about an hour ago that kind of cleared my mind around the whole thing, because the one other thing that's really dissatisfying in general about the Galactic War is the major order system, which at times is very gimmicky, but can also feel very weird. Like, why are we doing a major order, this was like 2 weeks back or something, to collect 45 million samples from 2 different planets, each, I should say. That doesn't seem really fun, nor does that seem like it would do anything. Not that I have like that much of a problem with it, but I don't know, why not just liberate the planets and then just allow us to do that instead? And then for the bot major order, that was, I think, technically our last one. We had to liberate 2 different planets to destroy mega factories and kill 113,000 agitators, or 1,000 million agitators, and 70 million radicals, which we didn't complete by like a hair. And then I saw this short about an hour ago, and it said, it was a caption that basically said Arrowhead summoned 60,000 people who hadn't played the game in months to go to Cybersand and just because they haven't played the game in months, but the game is easy, so why wouldn't you go to one of the higher difficulties immediately? I mean, playing the game right now, I mean, even though it's chaotic, it's still easy. Like, even when there was, 10 Vox engines, the game was still easy. I mean, you were still completing objectives. It was just, you couldn't really extract. But that was more of an issue of where the Voxes spawned and not how many of them spawned, in my opinion. But the reason why we lost Cyberstan was that this caption was saying, because when you spawn all these people in, well, we had a reinforcement budget at the time, which meant that we had a limited amount of people that could die. But that number was at, I think, 410 million. That's a lot of people. Now, that number would be really hard to hit if only 10,000 people played the game. But since 100,000 people played the game, even more than that, closer to 200,000, I think, that's not a very hard number to hit. Especially over the course of a week, and when only 200 million of that could be spent on Cyberstan, and then you have the Vox engines on top of that, kind of throwing a big wrench into the mix. But then I realized, hang on, that's a problem with every major order that's come out recently, and probably every major order that's ever been in the game. It's completely reliant on how many people are playing the game at that time. When you make a major order for 45 million samples from 2 different planets, you better fucking hope that you still have close to 100,000 people playing the game, because there's only 10,000, they're not hitting that number. Same for killing 113 million agitators. That number's a lot harder to hit when no one's playing the game, because the cool March to Cyberstan event stopped. And this is kind of the thing that it opened my mind to was, I always had a problem with how the major orders were, but I really just thought it was an issue of all the reward is some medals, and the next thing's easier or slightly easier or slightly harder, or it delayed more of the cool stuff from happening, realistically. Because if we always succeeded, none of the really cool things would happen, and if they did, they'd just happen immediately, kind of like Reclamation, where, although I always thought we'd push the robots out of the Severance sector or whatever it is, that really doesn't have as much meaning when no matter how that last major order was to push them out of there, no matter whether we won or lost that, it wouldn't have changed anything. They would have still reclaimed, right? A lot of the major orders feel very iffy, right? I mean, we take out Cyberstan? Oh, they're just going to build more mega factories. Oh, we don't take out Cyberstan? Oh, they're going to build more mega factories. The results are usually just the same. All that is really just, did we win or did we lose, within the most neutral sense of both of those words. I thought that the problem was with how rewarding it was. But clearly the problem is actually with the fact that the devs can't technically create a major order that requires you to do anything, because unless it's specifically defend planets or take planets, the two things that are affected by the Galactic Liberation modifier, or whatever it's called, you have to base it off of how many people are playing the game. And that exact thing has happened to the new major order for taking CS. They had to remove completing 500,000 operations because, number one, people were losing because of the new stuff and they don't know how to fight the new stuff. But number two, because for some reason. But I really do wonder what the reason is, because we do have a lot of people on there. And I was thinking of the numbers myself, and I'm practically sure I did exactly what they did. I just took how many people were playing the game, said, well, an operation takes about 2 hours to complete. You divide how many people are playing the game by 4, so it's let's just say it's 80,000 on CC. You divide that by 4, you get 20,000. 20,000 2 hours. To hit 500,000, you'd need to do 10 hours for 100,000. So it'd take about 50 hours to get to 500,000 operations done, assumedly. But instead, within 12 hours, we completed 3,000. I'd assume that's because of people losing to the extract high-value assets or whatever it is. That defend mission, that 20-minute one. Because that one's hard as shit with the mechs right now. And I love that. But it really confused me when I first noticed that they took that away. I was like, well, I mean, first off, number one, how are these numbers going up so slowly? We should have gotten a lot more progress by now, right? Then I saw this short that I saw with 60,000 or with the 60,000 new people coming in to go on Div 10 and then die and keep dying and run our reinforcement budget down. And I was like, oh my god, that's the problem. They're basing things off of how many people are playing the game. Again, you can't, kill that many agitators if there's not enough people playing the game. You can't get that many samples if there's not enough people playing the game. But then obviously you can't undershoot it because that's super easy. So it really sucks that the major order system in this game can only really, because of how the Galactic War works in general, can only really be based off of what planets to liberate and what planets to defend. And as I've already said before, that's an excruciatingly slow system as of right now. And I mean, they could technically speed it up, but I mean, I don't think they're going to do that because they'd have to do all the new stuff manually by hand because they don't have like AI, think like the Left 4 Dead 2, I don't remember what it was called, but the master AI that controlled when you got hordes and what items you would get to a degree. They don't have anything like that behind the three factions to, have it just push around and do random things, or at least do things that they code in that are important to whatever AI. No, they're doing that all by hand, so that would be really annoying, which arguably is just a flaw of planning. So really, the major order system is just completely underbaked, but it's not really underbaked because it's a bad idea. It's underbaked because it's entirely reliant on community. The only way you could really fix it is to give it its own galactic modifier there, where you base off of the high number, and then when it dips down in the night, you double everyone's progress during the night so that you can match it during the day, right? Because I think the player count drops by about half. To be fair though, still, that would still mean that the progress would still be really fast and would still end up being too easy, and then now you'd just have the exact opposite problem, or the exact same problem, really, where you still compensate for the number being higher, but then if the number drops farther down, or how many people are playing drops farther down than what you were expecting, or you don't retain that player base, then no one can do the new major order. Or if you have something like a reinforcement budget, if you hype the event up so much and people actually want to come back and try out the new stuff, well then you have the exact opposite problem where you undershot how many people would die. And personally, I just thought it was really interesting because I really do have many problems with how the Galactic War system works. I think it's terrible within a degree, and I think it could be made so much better and so much more interesting if you just don't have an infinite war. But I understand that Arrowhead wants to tell a story within it, and of course it gives them the really nice opportunity to build up events and everything like that. But personally, I would love if there was just, if the Galactic War was a month long or 2 months long, and it reset every 2 months, and boom, or you lost by the end of 2 months, or you won. Depending on whether or not you died, or you protected Super Earth, or you took out the enemies of Liberty. But of course, that would require the complete opposite of what we're going against now, because, it'd be impossible to die with how the enemies work now, because, they don't do anything. They're just sitting there on their ass. I mean, now would be the perfect time for the Terminids and the Automatons to try to attack, because we're all going to a planet that's a little bit stormier than usual. Of course, I know it's way more important than that, but I mean, I hope you get my point, that the Galactic War in itself feels underbaked, and the major order system, because it's so dependent in a very general sense for most things that you could design a major order to be around, on player base and how many people are playing, you can't really do anything other than just liberate planets or defend them. And those are arguably the most boring, ones you can do because, well, that's just saying play the game. And sorry, this is me from like the future, but like I just had a thought as well. I was just looking at like the Galactic War in general, and I just had a thought. There's not that many points of interest generally on the enemy side. I mean, other than CC right now and like Cyberstan, like Mentoria, since they just took that. There's the one planet where the Jet Brigade factories are. I can't even think of any that aren't just general gloom planets for the Terminids, right? But then we have like, as Super Earth, have like 1,000 different points of interest that none of the enemy factions seem to care enough to go for. And on top of that, don't even actually, within a very palpable sense, do anything for the player base. Like, I know at one point there were unmarked Seaf bases on the map that all they did was like increase our liberation modifier, right? I don't know why there still aren't Seaf bases on the map. Like, there should be one that the Helldivers can donate like super samples to, since after you upgrade your ship in general, you have nothing to use samples for in general after you upgrade your ship other than donating to the DSS, but super samples in specific actually have no purpose after you upgrade your ship, because the other two do. You can donate those, the super samples don't. So imagine there was a Seaf base that we could donate super samples to put Seaf troops on the map, and then unless they made a system where the Helldivers could vote where this Seaf platoon, or whatever it would be, can go, obviously Arrowhead would have to move it, but imagine if we could use our super samples, giving another point to actually getting samples in general, to create these platoons, and that way it can act as a world modifier that either puts Seaf on every operation instead of right now they're only in cities. It could also just be a straight boost to liberation, just like a straight like 50%. I mean, you could do anything with it really. I assume when they're on a planet, it would be a very general, it would either take down the resistance or just increase our liberation modifier. I wouldn't really care which, because it'd be the same result. But that would be, another way to make the Galactic War more interactable. I feel like there should be more elements like that the Helldivers can interact with, but at the same time, it's not like there are really any right now, because not even the devs themselves, as the three factions, because they're game mastering it all, want to even interact with our own POIs, other than sometimes saying, hey, defend this one, we're going to attack this one, we're going to send people in this general direction, you better defend it. Like, I know they did that with the ones on the Terminid front a lot, and I know we just liberated that one planet that the Terminids had that had our like factory hub on it, but that one doesn't even count, and they had to literally connect one of the planets in an adjacent sector to it because they forgot that we couldn't even get to it and thought we'd just be able to plow through a planet. Anyway, that was me from the future. I just had that thought. There's way more things I would change, but that seems like a very simple thing to add to the game. I'm sure nothing's actually simple to add to the game, but all the other ideas in general that I have that I would change about the Galactic War would be way more far-reaching and harder than that. That seems like we already almost have those systems in place. Like, again, like a donating system, which we do have for the DSS, a movement system, which we have for the DSS, and I mean, we already have POIs, so it'd be really, I feel like it'd be simple to, make the world feel a little bit more cohesive. But anyway, again, that was me from the future. Back to past me, who is saying, the same thing. It would take a much smarter person than I am to figure out how to actually fix the major order system. I mean, personally, I'd just completely remove it, but keep the event systems in general. That way you can still have cool stuff happening. Like, I wasn't playing the game when the Super Earth thing happened, where the Illuminate invade Super Earth. That'd be really cool if I could experience that again. And the only way I could experience that again is if the Galactic War reset. That's all I'm saying. It'd be really easy, and you'd probably have to put way less effort into making sure They have a consistent storyline and everything like that. Then you could try out wanky shit too. But as it is, Arrowhead has to be really conservative in the Galactic War and really plan shit out, which is kind of boring. But anyway, that was all I could really think about talking about. I mean, I'm sure there's more stuff I'd love to say about the Galactic War and about Helldivers 2 in general, because I quite enjoy the game, and most of my issues with it come from the Galactic War. I think most of the things in it are fine. Like, bugs aside, I mean, I had a really interesting bug lately, or once lately, where I loaded into a match, and I was basically on an entirely separate map than the rest of my team. And I don't mean that in a, like, oh, I'm on a different map sense. No, they're, like, playing a different game than I am, basically. Like, we had to do that data jack new objective to destroy the shields for the Exo Spire. Literally, they're floating, like, 10 feet in the air above me. I am in the ground. All the AI can react to me, but I'm in a literal different dimension compared to these guys. I mean, I must have gotten really cooked by the Exo Storm there to end up in a completely separate version of the planet. But other than fixing the bugs and maybe rebalancing a couple things, mainly just to make some things more viable, I don't think anything's too strong right now. That'd probably be for the best. But, you know, I don't need to really talk on that. All you need to do is search up Helldivers 2, and you'll immediately see people crying about what guns aren't good and what guns need to be buffed. And it's not like they don't have a right to cry about that stuff, but I swear to God, it's like every other minute with these people. To be fair, all they want is their game to be the most fun it can be, which no one can blame them for. And I also agree the sterilizer should be buffed, and the spears should be buffed, and all those other things. But I don't need to tell you that. If you play the game enough like I do, or enjoy the game as much as I do, you've probably used those things before and went, wow, this sucks. This could really use a fine-tuning. Anyway, I really can't think of anything else to say about the topic that I did want to talk about, unless I were to explain, like, further in depth what I'd personally do with the Galactic War. But otherwise, it seems fruitless. So I think I'm just going to say bye. Thank you for listening to me talk. And, I mean, if y'all want to give your thoughts on what you would do with the Galactic War and how you would change some of those things, let me know. Otherwise, you know, since I've been playing this game too much recently, probably for my own good, I'm going to go back to playing Helldivers 2 because I have a problem. My problem is tyranny, and that it is not liberated. Anyway, see y'all.